Barron Trump was strolling through a quiet suburban neighborhood on a crisp autumn afternoon. A gentle breeze rustled through the trees, scattering golden leaves across the ground, while the distant laughter from a nearby park mingled with the sound of chirping birds. It was one of those rare days when he allowed himself a break from his packed schedule, studying in the morning and helping prepare for his mother Melania's charity event in the afternoon. Enjoying the fresh air and soothing melodies streaming through his headphones, Barron turned onto a narrow street leading to a small local store. There, he noticed an elderly woman, petite and frail, struggling to push a cart piled high with heavy grocery bags across a rough patch of ground. The overloaded cart wobbled precariously, and her weariness was evident in the lines etched on her face. Barron paused, his gaze fixed on her. While others passed by, oblivious or indifferent, he couldn't ignore what he saw. "Excuse me, ma'am, can I give you a hand?" Barron asked, his deep, warm voice catching her attention. The woman looked up, her tired eyes showing a mix of surprise and gratitude. "Oh, thank you, dear. These bags are heavier than I thought," she replied, a faint smile crossing her weary face. Barron nodded and gently lifted the bags from her cart. "Where are you headed?" "My house is just down the street," she said, pointing toward a small home with a white picket fence at the end of the road. "But getting through this patch with the cart is quite a challenge." "Don't worry," Barron assured her, determination in his voice. "I'll help you get these home." As they walked together, they chatted. She introduced herself as Grace and shared that she had lived in the neighborhood for over 40 years. She reminisced about raising her children, fond memories of her late husband and her passion for baking. Barron listened intently, occasionally asking questions to keep the conversation lively. "You're quite special," Grace said unexpectedly. "Not many young people these days would stop to help an old lady like me." Barron smiled, slightly embarrassed. "My mum always says kindness is the greatest gift anyone can give. I guess her words stuck with me." When they reached Grace's cozy home, Barron carried the bags into her kitchen. Grace insisted he stay for a cup of tea and some freshly baked oatmeal cookies. At first, Barron politely declined, not wanting to impose, but her earnest hospitality won him over. Sitting at the small kitchen table, with soft afternoon light filtering through the curtains, Barron felt an overwhelming sense of warmth and peace. The room was filled with mementos, framed family photos, an old record player in the corner, and neatly arranged ceramic mugs on a shelf. "These cookies are delicious," Barron said, holding one up appreciatively. "My husband used to say they could heal any sadness," Grace replied with a gentle laugh. Barron left Grace's home with a heart full of contentment, realizing that sometimes even the smallest acts of kindness could brighten someone's entire day. Grace beamed with a radiant smile. "My husband used to say the same thing. He would always ask me to bake oatmeal raisin cookies whenever he felt down. He said they had magical powers to make everything better." Barron chuckled, his eyes reflecting genuine understanding. "I think he was absolutely right." Before leaving, Barron carefully helped Grace settle into a comfortable chair by the fireplace, making sure everything she might need was within reach. "If you ever need anything, just give me a call," he said, jotting his number on a small piece of paper. "I'd be happy to help." Grace looked at the paper, her eyes glistening with gratitude. "Thank you, young man. You've done more for me today than words can express." As Barron stepped out of the small house nestled beside a tree-lined field, he felt an inexplicable lightness in his heart. The golden rays of the setting sun filtered through the leaves, making the world seem a little brighter, a little warmer. Grace might never know who he truly was, but she would always remember the tall, kind-hearted young man who had gone out of his way to help her on that quiet afternoon. Walking along the narrow path back toward the village, Barron was pulled from his thoughts by a cheerful voice. "Hi there." Turning around, he saw a little girl, no older than 8, holding a basket of wildflowers. "I saw you helping Mrs. Grace. That was so nice of you," she said, her voice filled with admiration. Barron smiled and crouched down to meet her gaze. "Thank you. Do you live nearby?" The girl nodded, her ponytail bouncing as she pointed to a red brick house at the edge of the village. My mum and I live over there. We visit Mrs. Grace sometimes. She makes the best cookies." "She really does," Barron agreed with a small laugh. "I just had one. It was amazing. Would you like me to help you carry that basket?" "Oh no, I'm fine, but thank you," she replied, her bright eyes sparkling. "You're really kind. Most people wouldn't stop to help." Barron nodded thoughtfully. "Sometimes all it takes is one person to start. Maybe next time you'll be the one helping someone else." The girl tilted her head, considering his words before breaking into a wide grin. "I think I will." She waved enthusiastically before skipping off toward her house. Barron stood there for a moment, watching her disappear behind the trees. A faint hope stirred within him. Perhaps the small things he did could inspire something greater. Not long after, Barron heard commotion near the village market. A small crowd had gathered around an older man struggling to pick up spilled groceries. "What's going on?" Barron asked a bystander. "Someone bumped into him and stole his wallet," the bystander replied. Barron walked over and gently asked, "Sir, are you okay? Can I help you with anything?" The man looked up, his face a mixture of confusion and helplessness. "I don't know what to do. My wallet had all my money, cards and ID. Now I can't even pay for these groceries." Without hesitation, Barron said, "Don't worry, sir. Let me cover this for you." The man's eyes widened in surprise. "Oh no, I couldn't ask you to do that." "You're not asking," Barron replied with a kind smile. "I'm offering." After paying for the groceries and helping the man carry them home, the man handed Barron a business card. "You're a good soul. If you ever need anything, come see me. I run a small community hall in the village." Barron accepted the card with genuine gratitude. "Thank you, sir. I'll keep that in mind." As he walked back toward his own home, Barron glanced at the familiar sights of the village, reflecting on how simple acts of kindness could forge powerful connections between people. That evening, as Barron shared the events of his day with his family over dinner, his parents listened intently, their pride evident. "What did you learn today?" his father asked. "That even the smallest kindness can create a big difference," Barron replied, his eyes alight with newfound understanding. Sometimes, the smallest acts of kindness can have the most profound ripple effects. During a family dinner, Barron's siblings shared stories of how they had helped others, turning the meal into an inspiring discussion. Barron felt a strong urge to continue making a difference, even in the smallest of ways. That night, as he lay in bed, Barron thought about Grace, the little girl and the man from the small shop. Their faces and stories lingered in his mind, reminding him of the powerful connections that unite people. He drifted off to sleep with a renewed sense of determination, eager for the opportunities tomorrow might bring. The next morning, while flipping through the business card from the community centre the man had given him, Barron felt a sudden urge to visit. After breakfast, he told his parents about his plan and set off. The community centre was nestled near a quaint town square surrounded by coffee shops and old bookstores. Outside, a vibrant mural depicted local residents working together to build a stronger community. As Barron stepped inside, he was immediately greeted by a warm and bustling atmosphere. Children laughing in a reading nook, volunteers organising shelves of donated items, and a group of elderly people engaged in lively conversation. Mr. Edward, the man Barron had helped at the shop, spotted him and waved. "Barron, I knew you'd stop by." Barron smiled. "This place is amazing, Mr. Edward." "We try to create a space where everyone feels welcome," Mr. Edward said. "Would you like a tour?" As they walked through the centre, Mr. Edward explained the various programs, from after-school tutoring for kids to job training workshops and activities for seniors. One room was dedicated to a food pantry, stocked with donations, while another housed a small clinic providing basic medical services. "We rely entirely on volunteers to keep this place running," Mr. Edwards said. "It's not always easy, but seeing the impact we have makes it all worthwhile." "How can I help?" Barron asked, his eyes lighting up with excitement. "We can always use extra hands. How about starting with sorting donations?" Mr. Edwards suggested. Barron was led to a room filled with boxes of clothes and household items. There, Lisa, a dedicated volunteer, greeted him warmly and explained how they organized everything. As they worked together, Lisa shared stories of people whose lives had been transformed thanks to the center. One story struck Barron deeply, a single mother who had arrived in desperation but had since found stable housing and a job with the center's support. "It's incredible to see how a little help can completely change someone's life," Barron said, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. By the end of the afternoon, Barron had sorted through dozens of items and met several regulars at the center. Among them was Joe, an elderly man with a sharp wit who loved sharing tales of his adventurous youth. "You've got a good heart, kid," Joe said, patting Barron on the shoulder. "Don't ever lose that." Those words echoed in Barron's mind as he left the center. He realized that the day had been about more than giving. It had been about learning. The stories he heard and the people he met deepened his understanding of community spirit. In the weeks that followed, Barron became an integral part of the center. He balanced his schoolwork and other responsibilities with volunteering, taking on tasks ranging from tutoring kids to stocking the pantry and chatting with seniors. One day, Mr. Edward pulled him aside. "Barron, I just want to thank you. The way you've dedicated yourself to this work is incredible. You've made a huge difference here." Barron blushed. "I'm just happy to help. We're planning a community event next month," Mr. Edward continued. "It's an outdoor fair to bring people together and raise awareness about our programs. Would you like to help organize it?" Barron agreed immediately. The event quickly became his passion project. He threw himself into the planning, ensuring everything from food and games to logistics and promotions was perfect. He even leveraged his family's connections to secure sponsorships and donations. As the event day approached, Barron felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. But he knew in his heart that this was just the beginning of something much bigger. Barron wanted everything to go smoothly, not just for the community center, but for the people it served. On the morning of the event, he arrived early to help set up, arranging tables and chairs, hanging lanterns, and ensuring every detail was perfect. As the village square fair began, the atmosphere was livelier than anyone had expected. Families gathered around food stalls and game booths, children laughed as they painted figurines, and elderly neighbors shared stories while sitting together. Folk music filled the air, creating a vibrant sense of community. Barron stayed busy moving between areas, checking every detail. Watching people connect, strangers now sharing smiles and stories, he couldn't help but smile himself. It was a reminder of the power of connection and the importance of creating spaces where everyone feels valued and seen. As the event neared its conclusion, Mr. Edward stepped onto a temporary wooden stage, microphone in hand, and called Barron up. The crowd erupted into cheers and applause. "We wouldn't have had today without this young man," Mr. Edward said, his voice full of emotion. "Barron's tireless dedication to organizing this event has been truly inspiring. His energy and spirit have brought us all together." Barron felt his cheeks flush, but he stepped up to the microphone with sincerity in his voice. "Thank you, everyone. This center has taught me that community is strength. I'm just grateful to have contributed in some small way." The applause rose again, and Barron felt a profound sense of fulfillment. The event was more than just a success. It was a celebration of kindness and unity. That evening, as Barron helped clean up the square, he reflected on how much his life had changed. What began as a simple act of kindness with grace had grown into something far greater, helping him understand the deeper meaning of connection and responsibility. In the weeks that followed, Barron spent even more time at the center, balancing his schoolwork with volunteering. He helped with everything from teaching skills classes for kids to chatting with seniors. His passion began to inspire others, as friends at school grew curious and eager to join him. One day, as Barron arrived at the center, Mr. Edward greeted him with a knowing smile. "Barron, we've got something special planned today," he said, pointing to the main hall where people were setting up a stage and hanging artwork. "What's going on?" Barron asked. "A talent showcase," Mr. Edward replied. "Kids and seniors will be sharing their passions. Would you like to help organize it?" "I'd love to," Barron responded immediately. Throughout the day, Barron supported each performer, encouraging a shy boy about to play his flute for the first time in front of an audience, and helping an elderly woman arrange her paintings for display. When the program began, Barron took on the role of MC, keeping the atmosphere lively and the audience engaged. The boy's flute performance left the audience in awe, and the elderly woman's paintings received widespread admiration. The room buzzed with pride and joy, a testament to the power of shared experiences. After the event, as Barron helped clean up, Mr. Edward approached him. "You have a real talent for bringing people together," he said. "Have you ever thought about taking this further?" Barron smiled, pausing to reflect. "I hadn't thought of it that way," he admitted, "but I know I want to keep doing something meaningful." "Just remember," Mr. Edward said with a nod, "even the smallest actions can lead to big changes over time." Barron glanced around the room, feeling a deep sense of happiness as he realized he had started a journey with a purpose. Barron had always been encouraged by his parents to aim high, but it was his dedication to helping others that truly impressed them. During a cozy family dinner, his father spoke up. "I've heard about the meaningful things you've been doing at the community centre. Your mum and I are very proud of you." Barron nodded, a humble smile crossing his face. "Thank you, Dad. Working there has taught me so much. I've learnt a lot from the stories people share." Melania, who was usually quiet during meals, looked at him with gentle warmth. "Have you thought about what's next? You have a special way of connecting with people. Don't let that go to waste." Barron paused for a moment before replying. "I want to keep helping, but I'm not sure what the next step should be." "Whatever you decide, we'll always be here for you," his father said, his voice filled with trust. Those words stayed with Barron. Over the next few days, he spent time exploring different projects and organizations. One morning, while sorting books at the center, he came across a flyer for a citywide youth leadership program. He felt immediately drawn to it. "Do you think I should give this a shot?" Barron asked Mr. Edward, holding up the flyer. Mr. Edward smiled, his eyes lighting up. "I think you'd be perfect for it, Barron. You've already shown you can lead and make a difference. This would be a great next step." Barron decided to apply. The application process was challenging, requiring essays and interviews, but he approached it with determination. A few weeks later, he received his acceptance letter, and excitement surged through him. The program opened up a whole new world. Barron met other talented young leaders, sharing ideas and collaborating on projects to address issues in education and the environment. He found that the skills he had gained at the community center gave him a solid foundation, boosting his confidence every step of the way. By the end of the program, Barron had grown not only in skill but also in vision. He realized he wanted to combine his passion for helping others with building more sustainable and supportive communities. One afternoon, as Barron walked past the community center, he saw Grace sitting under the shade of a large tree at a wooden table. On the table were an old book and a steaming cup of tea. "Good afternoon, Mrs. Grace," Barron called out, approaching her. Grace looked up, her kind smile spreading across her face. "Hello, young man. It's so good to see you. Come sit with me." Barron pulled up a chair across from her. "How have you been? Still keeping busy with your baking?" Grace chuckled, her voice brimming with joy. "Oh, I'm always busy. But I've been hearing about you. Everyone's talking about the wonderful things you've been doing here." Barron laughed softly. "I'm just trying to do my part. But you and Mr. Edward are the real inspirations for me." Grace gently patted his hand, her eyes shining. "And you, Barron, are an inspiration to all of us. Keep going on this path. The world needs more young people who care and take action like you." As Barron left the center that day, his heart swelled with hope and gratitude. From that first small act of kindness to now, he realized how much his life had changed in ways he hadn't expected. But he also knew that as long as he kept his passion alive, every step he took would continue to make a difference. If this story has touched your heart, we'd love for you to share its message by liking and sharing it with your friends, helping us reach our first milestone of 1,000 subscribers, which means the world to us and allows us to create more meaningful stories for you. Don't forget to share your thoughts about the story and let us know which city you're watching from. Thank you for your support, and we'll see you in our next story.